Okay, rant request, and I think it's kind of timely. The question is, what advice can I give to engaged couples or newlyweds? And I want to give 3, which I think a lot of Christians overlook, don't talk about, and very much underestimate. So here are the 3. The first one is, do not be shocked. I say this with a little bit of humor, some ironic humor here, because a lot of Christians assume, God is on our side, God will give us grace, God will give us wisdom, so it's going to be great. Everything's going to be fine and dandy the moment we're married. That's hardly true. Just a reminder, we're all sinners. When you get one sinner and another sinner, put them together under the same roof, you get more sin, not less. Now, of course, you're going to get more grace. The problem is, although we get more grace, many Christians do not yet have the wisdom to apply that grace. A lot of Christians have not studied the Bible in specific ways for marriage and relationships. So what happens is they kind of fumble and stumble their way in the first few years of the marriage. So my suggestion is, don't get shocked. Some people say, I never thought I was such a sinner until I got married, or I never saw my spouse to be this kind of a sinner until now. Well, obviously, because you never lived together before until now. Marriage is a very powerful, refining, sanctifying tool God uses for believers. And so don't be surprised if a lot of issues come up. So don't be shocked. Many older couples will warn you. Don't think of them as killjoys or as, party poopers, but as people who simply love you and don't want you to have shattered expectations from your spouse. So, yeah, the first one is, don't start doubting your marriage. In other words, don't get so shocked if you suddenly have so many fights. Don't doubt your marriage. You begin to doubt God's will. Did I marry the right person? Don't think that way. Just remember, it's all part of the process. And so that brings me to my second piece of advice, which is, do not have kids right away. I know a lot of Christians say, you know what, when you get married, have kids, have lots of kids, and get pregnant the moment you're married, and have lots of babies. Besides, God will give you the grace. There's always going to be a new season in your life anyway, so God will give you the wisdom for every season. I've heard that so many times, and I disagree. If you truly say, I have faith that God will give me wisdom for every season, then also say that you have faith that God will give you kids despite the biological clock. Okay? Why do I say this? Don't have kids until 1 calendar year. So once you're married, count 1 calendar year or 12 months, then consider getting pregnant. Why? Ever since you were dating, you were bonding as a couple. You were solidifying your dynamic as a couple, but not as husband and wife. Once you're married, it's a totally new season. And when a new season comes in your life, your dynamic suddenly changes. Suddenly, when you fight, you don't go home to separate houses and mull over it by yourself. You're right beside each other. And sex is a very huge part of the new dynamic. A lot of couples, when they fight really, really badly, and then they make up, then they make out, then they make love. And that is a blessing in the sense that there's so much tension that is released. There's so much anger that can be removed by the simple act of being one. Being one flesh, how God described Adam knowing Eve. The word is, and Adam knew Eve. So knowing each other in that full sense. And if 80% of communication is nonverbal, imagine the kind of powerful communication with making love. When you're being one flesh and it's very, very nonverbal, it's very, very physical. And so that's why, it plays into a huge role into the new dynamic. You have to get used to the new dynamic. Get to know each other as husband and wife. But if you decide to get pregnant as soon as you get married, get pregnant right away, what's going to happen is you're introducing a new factor into a dynamic when you're not yet ready. It's kind of like saying, here's a kid who just learned how to do addition. Quick, let's teach him trigonometry. Like, dude, he just learned 1 + 1 = 2, and you're gonna go algebra on the guy? Like, give yourselves time to breathe and room to grow and to build your foundations as husband and wife. You don't never underestimate the cost of diapers. Okay, diapers are extremely expensive. Never underestimate what a child brings, the complications that a child brings into a marriage. It's not just parenting skills. It's going to be extra amounts of stress. You can't sleep, or your spouse can't sleep. One of you is always going to be tired, always going to be sleepy, always going to be exhausted. The child is going to take away so much of not just quality time, but quantity time as well. Because instead of spending time with each other, you're both shifting to spend time with a child, right? So it's gonna take so much of that. Now, of course, I'm not limiting it to just children. I'm talking about huge decisions in your life as a couple. Now, obviously, kids is one big factor, right? Like, you're still gonna figure out how are we gonna do the dynamics in terms of holidays, Christmases. Do we go to the your side or my side of the family? How are we gonna handle in-laws and their expectations and family expectations, and all of that, the extended family, the cousins, etc. You're handling so much. Adding a child into the mix right away is just going to add more complications. And if your dynamic and your foundation isn't strong enough as husband and wife, it's going to be very, very difficult. All right, very, very difficult. Third piece of advice, and this is kind of underestimated by a lot of couples. A lot of Christians, for some reason, okay, they're very open for themselves, but once they get into relationships, they suddenly keep quiet. They're not accountable anymore. They don't want to say anything to anyone anymore. They don't talk to more mature couples in the faith or people who have been married longer. They suddenly just keep quiet or shut up. And part of it is because they're so afraid that they're going to be violating the privacy of their partner. And that's the wrong mindset to have. And also, please do not think that your couples counseling ended once you said, I do. In fact, the opposite should be true. Once you're married, you should make your lines of communication more open, not less. Okay, once you're married, your communication with more mature couples who have been married longer and who know the Bible well and are godly couples, your lines of communication should be more open with them, not less, more. Why? Because once you're husband and wife, once you're one flesh, the enemy or the devil will attack that marriage even more. Therefore, accountability becomes an even bigger need. Not just that. Please avoid the thought that, we're married, so I guess we'll just go through a program. That's not it. It should be a lifestyle for you. Until you both get separated by death, you should have open communications with other couples who are more mature in the faith than you. Get wisdom from them. Get counsel from them all the time. All right? It's so strange, it really is, when we think that it's no longer needed. If you think of your physical health, okay, your physical health. We get yearly full executive checkups. At least companies give that to us, right? Or we get yearly medical checkups just to touch up or to update, just so we know we're still healthy. But when it comes to marriage, a lot of people seem to think that it's not needed anymore, when it's even more needed. So yeah, those are the three pieces of advice that I would give. So the first one, again, don't be shocked, right? Don't be shocked. Just go through with it and don't doubt the Lord. Second, please don't make any giant decisions once you're newlyweds, but instead, just bond. Give yourselves a year. Kids, don't worry so much about your biological clock, but instead take that time to save money, to maximize being together, be intimate all the time, be physically intimate, enjoy each other, enjoy each other's company, get to know one another. Once there are kids, the family will demand time, so just do that. And third, open the lines of communication even bigger and even wider. God bless you guys.